Good evening. I'd like to call the August 26th meeting of the Sacramento County Planning Commission to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hom?
Here.
Commissioner Poley?
Here.
Commissioner Shelby? Commissioner Tatishi?
Here.
Commissioner Martinson?
Here.
You have a quorum.
And we'll start with introduction of staff. County Council.
William Burke with County Council.
Alma Munoz with the Clerk of the Board's office.
Do you want to?
Okay. Chris Pahuli with Planning and Environmental Review.
Okay, great. We'll see some folks in the audience tonight. If you have not filled out the comment form on the tablets in the back, please do so. And it'll show up on our tablet so we know to call you up for public comment. All of those wishing to speak tonight, including the applicants, can you please rise and we'll swear you in?
Please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give this commission is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm? I do. When you go to the podium, please state your name for the record and the statement, I have been sworn. Thank you.
Okay.
Item number 1, PLMP 2018-00169, use permit, special development permit, and design review. Owner John Newton, applicant Kenneth Wold, BP West Coast Products, LLC, located at the southwest corner of the Elkhorn Boulevard and 32nd Street intersection in the North Highlands community. Environmental dock is a mitigated negative declaration.
Just 1 minute. I'm sorry. Staff instructed me, and as soon as they told me, I forgot. We will not be hearing item 4 tonight. For those that might be here for that item, the applicant has dropped their appeal, and if you do have questions, staff can chat with you about that. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Cool. Okay. Hi, my name is Jessie Shen, and I'm here to present the Elkhorn and 32nd Street ARCO AM/PM project. The project site is located at the southwest corner of Elkhorn Boulevard and 32nd Street in the in the North Highlands community. Surrounding uses consist of vacant parcels, light industrial and commercial uses, as well as residential uses. At the Elkhorn and 32nd intersection, the project site is one of 3 currently vacant parcels. Auto part storage, fabrication, mini storage, and light industrial and commercial incubator uses are located north, south, and west of the project site. McClellan Airport is located approximately 520 feet west of the project site, and the proposed use of the site is permitted per the applicable airport land use plan. And the nearest residential zoning district is located approximately 90 feet southeast of the project site as measured from parcel lines. As mentioned, the project site is currently vacant. It's vegetated with grasses, and an existing billboard structure is located in the northwest portion of the project site along Elkhorn Boulevard, but would be removed with this project. The request is for a use permit for a 24-hour automobile service station, a 24-hour convenience store, and a car wash facility with drive-through. A special development permit is also requested to allow for deviations from 2 car wash standards. One thing to note is that the special development permit is required for these car wash standards because the project site is located within 300 feet of residential zones, and car wash standards related to minimizing noise are applicable to this project. The other items that are requested as part of the special development permit are to exceed the on-site signage allowed for primary service stations, as well as deviation from the street tree requirement. To go back, the 2 deviations for car wash facility standards that are being requested is a reduction in the distance of dryers from the tunnel exit, which is 10 feet required, but it's showing 3 feet, as well as the treatment of sound-absorbing materials for walls and ceiling areas adjacent to dryers, and that cannot be confirmed with the materials proposed. This is the site plan of the project. As shown, vehicular access to the project site would be provided by new driveways on Elkhorn Boulevard and 32nd Street. The driveway on Elkhorn Boulevard would be right in, right out, and 32nd Street would be unrestricted in terms of turning movement. Development of the project site includes new structures for the convenience store, car wash, and fuel canopy. Site improvements entail paved areas for circulation and parking, landscaped areas, a trash and recycling enclosure, monument sign, on-site pedestrian pathways, and detached sidewalks along the project site frontage with the right-of-way. Proposed parking would be located east of the convenience store and west behind the car wash facility, as well as under the fuel canopy. There is an existing 20-foot wide Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District easement along the northern portion of the project site adjacent to Elkhorn Boulevard. This easement area coincides with the frontage planters and the detached sidewalks along Elkhorn Boulevard. Because regional sand does not permit trees taller than 5 feet in height or tree canopies overhanging into their easement area, that is why the request for a special development permit to deviate from the street tree requirement is in this project. So this is the landscaping plan for the project. Has the applicant team worked closely with PERS Landscape Planter to create a street tree feel along Elkhorn Boulevard. Compact strawberry trees, along with a variety of shrubs at varying heights, would be planted on each side of the detached sidewalk. However, we don't consider these strawberry trees as street trees, as shade is not provided. Proposed landscaping would comprise approximately 32% of the project site, and 40 trees would be planted on the site. The landscaped areas in the western portion of the project site would be fenced with a 7-foot-tall wrought iron fence to prevent encampment. Additionally, the species planted in this area are of the prickly variety. These are elevations of the convenience store. The proposed convenience store would face 32nd.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, on the last slide, please. Yes, thank you. Where the entrance to the car, where we see the entrance to the car wash, is it on what we're looking at the bottom, or it's on the bottom?
Yes.
So is that the very, very entrance? What I'm looking for is how are cars lining up if, say, there are 3 or 4 of them?
So the cars would enter south of there's a driveway starting from south of the convenience store that wraps around the convenience store this way, and then you would enter into the car wash facility and exit towards Elkhorn.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the proposed convenience store would face 32nd Avenue as shown in the east elevation, with the north elevation facing Elkhorn. The Design Review Advisory Committee requested that the orange awning as shown in the east elevation be continued to the north elevation. Additionally, although not depicted here, there would be a raised landscape planter with 5 dwarf crepe myrtles planted on this side of the elevation. The west elevation would back onto a gated pathway for employee use only between the convenience store and car wash, and the proposed signage on this structure is limited to the 66 square foot AM/PM wall sign on the east elevation. Okay, the proposed car wash facility is a single bay automatic facility with an attached equipment room. The car wash facility exit would face Elkhorn, and the west elevation that would face the parking spaces proposed in the western portion of the project site includes trellises to support vines or other landscape features as to not create a blank wall. The proposed car wash facility model is already made, and it utilizes standard equipment. As this is an already made facility, changes cannot be made to meet the county standards for distances between dryers and the exit, as well as the treatment of sound-absorbing materials for the ceiling and wall areas adjacent to the dryers. You'll see that there's a trash enclosure. It contains a non-combustible roof, and the colors match the primary structures on the site, as well as the materials. The proposed monument sign would be located near the intersection of Elkhorn and 32nd. It would be approximately 12 feet tall, and that contains 26 square feet of non-exempt sign area. The elevations of the fuel canopy are shown here. The fuel canopy would be 18.5 feet tall and cover 9 pump islands. Signage proposed on the fuel canopy include the ARCO channel letters and Spark logos on the north and east elevations facing the street right-of-ways, which total 26 square feet. Each pump island contains non-exempt signage on the fuel dispenser valences and skirts, including the ARCO letters, logo, and advertising space, which total approximately 46 square feet. And because the proposed non-exempt sign area of 165 square feet exceeds the permitted 125 square feet, this deviation is also requested as part of the special development permit. Key points. The final hearing body for this project is the board. The project is consistent with the general plan and applicable community plans. The project also meets locational requirements for new primary automobile service stations. These include 1, assessing impacts to abutting residential zoning districts, which the project does not abut. 2, whether an area within a half-mile radius of the project site suffers from an overconcentration of automobile service stations. There are no vacant or unoccupied service stations within a half-mile of the project site, and the nearest operational automobile service station is approximately 0.7 miles to the southeast. And the third item is whether the project would increase dangers from fire and explosion or from traffic accidents arising from ingress or egress to the site. And to that point, the project would not create these unsafe access and circulation conditions. This was supported by the findings in the traffic impact study prepared for the project, which identified the proposed driveway lengths and locations to be adequate for projected demands and are appropriate based on proximity to the nearest intersection. Additionally, the study concluded that the proposed on-site circulation system would adequately accommodate the flow of customers to and from vehicle queuing positions, parking areas, and drive-through. An initial study was prepared for this project, and mitigation measures were identified to address potential transportation traffic impacts, biological resources, as well as cultural resources impacts. In regards to traffic, the traffic impact study identified that the project would result in increased delay experience at Elkhorn and 28th. That intersection is located west of the project site, and the project would also exceed available storage on the northbound 32nd left turn lane approach towards Elkhorn, which could block access to and from the project site. To address these 2 impacts, mitigation is identified, 2 of them. The first one is to contribute a fair share percentage towards the construction of signalizing the Elkhorn and 28th Street intersection, and the second is to install street improvements on 32nd Street beyond the standard requirement, such that the left turn lane onto Elkhorn is extended to a distance that will prevent intersection queuing from interfering with access to the project site. For biological resources, the project site does not contain suitable habitat for special status species. However, the site is located in the vicinity of vacant parcels that could contain larger trees that provide nesting habitat for Swainson's hawk or other nesting raptors, and to that end, a pre-construction nesting survey is identified in the event construction occurs during the nesting season. And cultural resources, because there's ground disturbing activities that could result in the inadvertent discovery of these resources, mitigation is identified for that, as well as tribal consultation for this, as well as through tribal consultation for this project. Mitigation is also included to allow tribal monitors to conduct inspections and to provide construction workers with cultural resources awareness training. These mitigation measures are included as proposed conditions of approval for the project. In addition, PER is recommending several other conditions of approval, such as the use of plant species in line with the crime prevention through environmental design strategies, the use of the prickly species, outdoor lighting designed to minimize light spillage onto the right-of-way and adjacent parcels, prohibiting outdoor public address or loudspeaker systems, convenience store use and safety standards such as signs prohibiting littering and consumption of alcohol on the premise, the requirement to report illegal activities, removal of litter on site and on adjacent properties and streets, as well as using security cameras for surveillance purposes. The Department of Health Services has also identified participation in the Healthy Food Store initiative and the inclusion of healthy food products at the front of the convenience store. And car wash conditions include closing and securing entrance and exit areas during non-operation, and signs prohibiting sound amplification devices when car doors or windows are open. I don't think I mentioned this, but there is a PCN associated with this project, and associated with the PCN, there are additional sheriff conditions for safety and security purposes as well. The Design Review Administrative Committee met on January 10th and found the project in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines. The North Highlands Community Planning Advisory Council also met, and they recommended approval of the project. Public concerns raised include exacerbation of the existing homelessness and crime problems in the neighborhood, project-related traffic impacts, and increased litter in the community. As noted in the previous slide, there are proposed conditions of approval in place that address the public concerns expressed at CPAC. And the CPAC commented that the site is at a logical and reasonable location, and existing homelessness issues in the community may be improved with development of the vacant site. Staff recommends approval, and to this end, here are the recommended actions for the Planning Commission. Cool. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions of staff?
I have two.
Okay, go for it.
Good evening, Jesse. Just a couple of questions for you. On the conditions of approval, is there anything addressing recycled water usage of the car wash?
I do not believe we
Is that
have.
in there?
No.
Okay.
No, we do not.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I didn't really, and maybe I didn't read it thoroughly enough, for the mitigation for alcohol sales. Is there limits on time sales, security of the lock, typically of the coolers and et cetera?
There will be alcohol conditions that will be placed on the PCN, which will be considered by the Board of Supervisors when this action, or when this request moves forward to the board.
Okay, so it will be included then?
It absolutely will be included as part of the PCN.
Okay, but there's nothing for water recycling yet as part of this?
Not as part of the conditions that are being placed on this project, but perhaps the applicant can speak to any measures that they have as part of their operational use of the property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Great, thank you. We'll bring the applicant up.
Hi, my name is Alicia Olson, and I have been sworn in already. I wanted to address your question about the recycled water usage in the car wash, first and foremost. It already has a recycled water system, so it already recycles the water, and I actually have the calculation somewhere of how much, but it recycles most of the water. So they don't, like, the water usage is fairly low as far as a car wash, because it doesn't, I don't think they change it out, maybe like, once every few weeks, I think, if I recall. So again, it's pretty good on the recycling because it's already that type of system. So otherwise, I think Jesse did an excellent job of kind of summing up the project and some of the design that we went through with the Design Review Advisory Committee. So if you guys have any questions, again, I'm the architect on the project, and I would be happy to answer them.
And you agree to all, or the applicant agrees to all the conditions included in the item?
I could let Ken Wold from BP speak on that, and he can also address the alcohol sales concerns.
Okay.
I'm Ken Wold with BP and representing the company. And yes, we do.
Excellent.
And we'll adhere to the hours of operation for beer and wine. And as far as safety is concerned, I think it's going to be really good for the area because we're going to be very well lit and security cameras all over because that's what we're about. So, especially in company operations, even though one of our franchisees, our best franchisee, is sitting here, he does a great job doing the same thing. So I think that's it.
Great, thank you. And just to be clear, the alcohol permit's a separate item, not included in the packet. Any other questions of the applicant?
Not for me, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. I do not see any public comment under number 1, so we'll move to discussion, motions.
Move to approve staff recommendation as written.
Second.
Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Great, thank you. Call our next item, please.
Item number 2, PLMP 2018-00222. Use permit amendment, special development permit, and design review, M&M Fuels, Inc. Applicant Holloway Land Company, located at 4747 Northgate Boulevard at the southwest corner of the Del Paso Road and Northgate Boulevard intersection in the Natomas community. Environmental document is exempt.
Hi, it's me again. Where's the mouse? There's no mouse. Thank you. Not yet. Now. Cool. Thanks. Thanks, Chris. Hi. Again, I'm Jessie Shen. I'll be presenting this amendment to the use permit for car wash facility changes. The project site is located at 4747 Northgate Boulevard at the southwest corner of the Del Paso Road and Northgate Boulevard intersection in the Natomas community. The project site is currently developed as an automobile service station with a 2,800 square foot fuel canopy covering 6 pump islands and 2 pay stations, a 2,500 square foot convenience store, and a 1,1280 square foot car wash facility with an unmarked drive-through. Development of the project site came about from several actions. One, a use permit was granted for the Whitney Properties project by the board in June of 1988, which allowed for the primary service station and 24-hour convenience store. Two, a use permit amendment was granted by the board in March 2005, which allowed for the addition of 2 additional pump islands and the corresponding extension of the fuel canopy. And 3, the existing car wash facility was constructed without discretionary entitlements as building permits were issued in October 2007 and the expansion of the car wash facility in March 2015. The existing gas station and the convenience store have been in operation for approximately 30 years, and the car wash facility has been in operation for 11 years on the project site. Surrounding uses are light industrial in nature and consist of established warehouse and distribution, commercial, and office uses. The nearest residential zoning district is located 500 feet north of the project site in the city of Sacramento. The request is for a use permit amendment to allow the replacement of an existing 1,280 square foot car wash facility with a new 2,124 square feet car wash facility with an auxiliary structure, drive-through, 12 vacuum stalls, and associated site improvements on 1.61 acres in the M1 zoning district. A use permit amendment is required as the project proposes to change the accessory use, which is tied to the primary use on the project site. The accessory use of the car wash facility would not exist without the primary use, and because the primary use requires a board-issued use permit, any proposal to change either the primary use or the accessory use related to the primary use is granted requires an amendment to the use permit. A special development permit is also requested to allow on-site signage for the primary automobile service station to exceed 125 square feet, as well as design review. And you'll see these are photos of the existing car wash facility. The purpose of the project is to replace the existing car wash facility with a modernized facility that utilizes a conveyor system, water-efficient technology, and quieter dryers and vacuums. So, as shown in the site plan, project improvements would be limited to the western and southern portions of the project site, which comprise approximately 42% of the site. Existing structures and features on the project site that would not be changed by the project include the fuel canopy, pump island area, monument sign, and driveways. The proposed car wash facility would be located in generally the same location as the existing facility, except set back further from Northgate and the southern property line. The existing facility is 38 feet from Northgate, and the new facility would be 91 feet from Northgate, so a difference of 50 feet. And from the southern property line, the facility is currently 1 foot off this demarcation, and the new facility would be 5 feet off this demarcation. A new drive-through with 285 feet of reservoir space, 12 vacuum stalls, and with overhead shade canopies would be located in the western portion of the project site. And additional site improvements include a new trash and recycling enclosure, relocated parking spaces, new bicycle parking amenities, and marked pedestrian paths, additional landscaping, and facade improvements to the existing convenience store. The proposed project improvements would require the removal of 2 southern magnolia trees located south of the convenience store, which are currently utilized as parking shade trees. These are elevations of the new car wash facility and vacuum stalls. The proposed car wash facility is a single bay automatic facility with an equipment room, a 350 square foot auxiliary structure containing a storage room and an attendant booth would be located northwest of the car wash facility. There would be a 5-foot walkway located between this auxiliary structure and the car wash, which would be gated and with access limited to employees. The proposed signage on the car wash facility is limited to the 25 square foot Super Clean Express car wash sign on the east elevation. And because this project site is not located within 300 feet of residential zones, car wash standards related to minimizing noise are not applicable to this project. The vacuum stalls would operate from a centralized vacuum system that would be located in an 8-foot tall enclosure constructed of concrete masonry units with a steel door, and the new trash enclosure would consist of 6-foot tall walls, a solid gate, and a non-combustible roof. Both of these enclosures would be painted to match the color of the primary structures on site. In terms of improvements to the convenience store, minor addition of facade improvements would be made to facilitate cohesive design aesthetics between the structures on the project site. Improvements entail adding a new parapet, replacing the AM/PM wall sign to be adequately sized with the new parapet, and then repainting the exterior to match the color of the car wash facility. Originally, the new car wash facility's exterior color scheme was proposed to match the existing convenience stores, which is currently painted in off-white. However, concerns regarding glare from the existing car wash facility, which is also painted in off-white, resulted in the applicant team selecting this current color palette for project improvements. No changes are proposed to the fuel canopy structure or monument sign. Although the existing Spark logos on the fuel canopy extend above and below the fascia and is not in compliance with standards for signs attached to buildings or canopies, the fuel canopy was constructed in compliance with elevations approved as part of the 2005 use permit amendment, and as such, these existing Spark logos are considered approved design features. The existing signage on the fuel canopy consists of 2 Arco channel letters and 3 Spark logos, totaling 35 square feet, and the area of non-exempt signage on the monument sign is approximately 34 square feet. In the Pump Island area, each pump island and pay station contains non-exempt signage on the fuel dispenser or pay station valences and skirts. In total, the Arco letters and logos on the pump islands comprise 22 square feet, and there's an additional 68 square feet of existing advertisement placed on the fuel dispensers, pay station, and pipe guards in the pump island area. As the proposed non-exempt sign area of 204 exceeds the permitted 125, this deviation is requested as part of the special development permit. Currently, landscaping comprises 37% of the project site, and there are 19 trees, primarily located in the frontage areas and in the vicinity of the convenience store for parking lot shade purposes. As previously mentioned, 2 trees would be removed. With project improvements, new landscaping on the project site would include 17 additional trees and a variety of shrubs and ground cover planted in the vicinity of the car wash facility, vacuum stalls, drive-through, and in areas where substandard or missing landscaping is currently not in compliance. And with the project, landscaped areas would comprise 26% of the project site, which still exceeds the 20% minimum. The final hearing body for this project is the board. The project is consistent with the general plan, and general findings can be made in support of the requested deviations for the special development permit. Again, the project is compatible with the existing land uses and neighborhood, as the existing gas station and convenience store has been in operation for 30 years and the car wash facility for 11. The project is categorically exempt from the provisions of CEQA, and an NOE was filed for the project. Approved conditions are in regards to existing and proposed conditions of approval for this project. The original conditions contained in the use permit granted in 1988 and then the use permit amendment granted in 2005 are still applicable to this project. In addition, we're proposing additional conditions of approval to align the convenience store use with, to align the convenience store to this use that was granted 30 years ago with current standards. Conditions include convenience store use and safety security standards, such as posting and prohibiting littering, consumption of alcohol on premise, requirement to report illegal activities, removal of litter on site, and containing or using surveillance cameras and security cameras. The Department of Health Services is also identifying participation in the Healthy Stores Initiative and the inclusion of healthy foods products at the front of the convenience store. Car wash facility conditions include closing and securing the entrance and exits during non-operation to prevent unauthorized access, and the use of plant species in line with the crime prevention through environmental design strategies. The DRAC reviewed this project and found the project in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines, and the Natomas CPAC recommended approval of the project. There was a member of the public representing the existing appliance sales business located on the adjacent southern parcel to the project site that attended the CPAC meeting in January, and he expressed concerns in regards to issues relating issues experienced from the existing car wash pertaining to dryer noise, glare from the southern elevation, and then excess water flowing onto the street, the Northgate Avenue Street. He also expressed concerns regarding the new car wash facility in terms of the noise generated and whether the project would incorporate homeless deterrent features. As a result of the CPAC meeting, the applicant made the following changes to the plan set to address the member of the public's concerns. One, they proposed a new exterior palette color, which is shown in the previous slides, consisting of dark and light beiges with gray, blue, and orange accents to address glare concerns. Two, they proposed graffiti paint protection on new or repainted structures and a new fence and gate to prevent homeless encampments in the area between the car wash facility and the southern property line. And three, they proposed additional landscaping along the southern property line and the addition of a 8-foot tall, 10-foot long sound wall attached to and extending from the southern elevation of the proposed car wash facility to serve as noise buffers to the existing appliance sales business. All changes are reflected in the current exhibits with the exception of the sound wall. Staff is not requiring a sound wall, nor is it shown in current exhibits, as this feature is not permitted unless required as a condition to mitigate noise impacts. As there are no noise-sensitive receptors, such as residences, schools, hospitals, in the vicinity of the project site, no noise study was required and no mitigation requiring a sound wall was identified. This was explained to the member of the public, and they continue to express the desire for a sound wall. We were anticipating public testimony regarding this issue today, but were notified that he would not be able to make it, and he wanted staff to relay his comments so it would be on the record. Staff has prepared conditions of approval to incorporate a sound wall feature into the project, and that was shared with the applicant team, and they are amenable to including those if you choose to include them. And here are the recommended actions for this project.
Okay.
So I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think probably the same one you have.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, so the recommended actions don't include the sound wall. You're saying that you're prepared if we would like for you to do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, because the distance to the business is not, or they're not considered a sensitive receptor, it's not required per code, essentially.
Correct. There's no noise study prepared that identified a significant impact related to noise, and so it would not be constructed for mitigation purposes.
For noise purposes, okay. Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Yep.
They're probably redundant questions. I assume the alcohol beverage is not on the they're considered by the board, right?
No, not on this one. So with this one, there's an existing ABC license that the applicant has.
They're grandfathered in.
That's correct.
Okay, and then I guess I'll ask the applicant on the car water recycled, but I did hear the comment of that the reason for the car wash is more efficient water usage, so I'll save that for the applicant. So let me ask a question on the sound wall, though. So is staff opposed to the sound wall, or they're neutral on it?
I would say staff is neutral on it. We don't believe that it's necessary, and so we have not carried that forward as a recommended condition of approval. However, we do know that there is at least one member of the public that is interested in seeing that wall be included in the project.
And the applicant is, I guess I can ask the applicant if they're okay
Correct.
with it or not. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? All right, thank you. We'll bring the applicant up.
Members of the commission, Peter Tobin with Barghausen Engineers, and I have been sworn. We agree with the conditions, and we also agree with adding the wing wall. That was something that the client and a franchisee agreed with the adjacent property owner, so we definitely want to do that. And staff did a great job of summarizing this project, and we're here to answer any questions.
I would like to say that I think it's gracious of the applicant to include the sound wall.
Thank you.
And just quick, I probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Water savings devices are inclusive of the new car wash?
Yeah, that's a pretty old car wash that's there. And even though the new one's 40 feet longer, it's far more efficient, recycles a lot better. It's a whole new world in terms of the type of new car wash.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. And the applicant's accepting all the conditions in the
Yes.
packet? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple speakers on this item. Andrea Lisi, and then followed by Mark Strouch.
Andrea Lisi with Ramey Moose Manley for the applicant. I've been sworn. I actually am only here in case there's any land use or environmental related questions.
Thank you. Feel free to come up if you want. Okay, great, thank you. Close the public comment, and then could staff actually just read the condition into the record, please?
I have 3, so I'll alert you when I change them. So the first one is, prior to submittal of improvement plans, obtain design review approval for a 8-foot long, 8-foot tall, 10-foot long concrete masonry unit sound wall with stucco finish attached to and extending east from the southern elevation of the proposed car wash facility, and any changes to landscape features in the vicinity of the sound wall location. The sound wall shall be painted to match the color of the primary structures on site. The second one is, prior to approval of improvement plans, show the design review approved wall on improvement plans. And then the third one is, prior to final inspection, construct the design review approved sound wall and install design review approved changes to landscaping features in the vicinity of the sound wall.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions? All right, anybody want to have any comments or make a motion?
I'll make a motion to go with staff recommendations inclusive of the gracious sound wall
And associated conditions.
and associated conditions. Okay, there we go.
Is that good?
Second.
All right, please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Next item, please.
Item number 3, PLMP 2018-00327, zoning code amendments related to wireless communication facilities. County of Sacramento, Office of Planning and Environmental Review Division. Environmental document is exempt.
Just one moment, technical difficulties. Oops. It's not a touch screen, huh?
I should just be able to use the arrows, right? Oh. All right. Good evening, Wendy Hartman with the Office of Planning and Environmental Review. I'm here this evening to discuss some zoning code amendments related to wireless communication facilities. We held a workshop with your Planning Commission on May 13th of this year and originally initiated these zoning code amendments last November. This is a coordinated effort with Planning of Office and Environmental Review along with staff from Department of Transportation and the Real Estate Division. We've also had various meetings and communications with various service providers and representatives from both SMUD and the Public Health Officer. Let's see. Before diving into some of the details of the zoning code amendment, the reason that we reached out to the public health officer was that we received some comments from some members of the public that were concerned with electromagnetic field health hazards. And as included as an attachment in your staff report, Dr. Olivia Kassir, who is the county's public health officer, has determined based on best available information that with these types of small cell facilities, there are currently no health risks that are known. Which leads me to what exactly is a small cell wireless facility. Small cell facilities are more often referred to as 5G networks. These are typically wireline fibers that are supported on small cellular nodes, which are typically attached to existing infrastructure such as street poles and power poles. These types of systems provide faster internet speeds than existing technology. However, because of the size of these facilities, they do require that providers place these facilities much closer together than your more traditional 2G through 4G type of network facilities. Currently, the county zoning code treats all new wireless facilities, with the exception of some co-location type facilities, the same, including separation from the county right-of-way. We also typically require approval of a conditional use permit for any new wireless facilities, and the wireless service providers have indicated that this current procedure is quite cumbersome for them, particularly because we would typically require a use permit for each individual site. In addition, there have been several changes from the FCC which mandate that local jurisdictions provide a more streamlined process for these types of small cell facilities, which I'll discuss in more detail on the next slide. Let's see. Oh, one thing I did want to mention also is that in addition to small cell facilities, the FCC has also provided in 2016 some modifications to what is being called eligible facilities requests, and so those have also been incorporated into the zoning code amendments, which I will also discuss in a few minutes. So based on the recent FCC regulations, staff is proposing to split wireless communication facilities, or WCFs, into three broad categories. Your standard WCFs, which will be new antenna towers and your traditional 2G through 4G type of equipment. Then we have our small cell WCFs, or 5Gs, and then lastly co-locations, which would include the eligible facility requests. Most of the standards for WCFs, which are currently in our zoning code, are remaining relatively unchanged. We are doing some reformatting of that whole section to make it a little easier to interpret and administer, and making some minor clarifications, such as separations from towers. There will be new language added to allow for small cell WCFs in right-of-ways and on county facilities, which I'll discuss in more detail. And currently, the use permit required to deviate from the various development standards will be changed to a special development permit for our standard WCFs, because that's more consistent with how we deal with other development standard deviations. And then lastly, some minor changes proposed to adjust development standards for WCFs on private property. So in order to address concerns related to aesthetics, minimizing impacts to landscaping, pedestrian and vehicle safety, while still allowing for a streamlined approval process that will meet the required FCC regulations, staff is proposing some of the following small cell development standards.
For those structures that are attached to an existing structure, we require that certain aesthetic standards will be held to, such as a stealth design, including that the color of the facility match the color of the structure or pole that it's being located on, and that all of the wiring be included in a shroud or incorporated into the pole or structure itself. We also will require that the equipment associated with the small cell facility will be incorporated into an underground vault in a separate cabinet up to 6 cubic feet in diameter, or if there's multiple cabinets associated with co-locations, up to 28 cubic feet, or integrated into the pole design. And lastly, each of the antenna arrays are limited to 3 cubic feet with a cumulative total of 10 cubic feet. So one of the biggest changes regarding wireless communication facilities is particularly related to small cells and who the approving authority will be. We're basically creating a ministerial process through the planning department where they'll just need to meet the development standards laid out in the zoning code and apply for a building permit. However, if those small cell facilities are located on a structure within a county right-of-way, they will also need approval from the Department of Transportation for an encroachment permit. And if that facility is owned by the county, such as a street light, then they will also need to enter into a master license agreement, or MLA, which will determine other criteria, safety requirements, liability, things of that nature that the Department of Real Estate is currently working through. For those small cell facilities that are located on non-county facilities, such as PG&E and SMUD, they would also need authorization from those entities before placing their equipment on those structures. If they're not located within a right-of-way, then they would just need to go through the building permit process, but would also need an encroachment permit if the PG&E or SMUD facility is within the county right-of-way. So some of the other zoning code updates that are being proposed with the new FCC regulations are related to eligible facility requests. These are a type of co-location that is defined by the FCC, and there are restrictions on height, types of facilities, et cetera, that qualify for this. They will be allowed in all zone districts by right. The biggest difference between a co-location and a small cell is that for the co-location, it must be located on a facility that is currently permitted as a wireless communication facility, whereas a small cell per the FCC can be located on another structure that may not have any other wireless communication facilities on them. We are also making some changes to Chapter 6 of the zoning code, which relates to administration. Currently, as I mentioned before, we require a conditional use permit for most new WCFs, but we also include the conditions of approval and the findings for those use permits in Chapter 3, and it makes more sense to move those to Chapter 6, where we have other administrative requirements. We'll also be adding definitions that fully describe what an eligible facility is, what a co-location means, and the definition of small cell WCFs consistent with the FCC regulations. Since we've submitted our staff report to your commission, we have received comments from some of the other county departments, as well as from some of the service providers, and therefore are also recommending some other minor modifications to the code before it goes to the Board of Supervisors. Due to their nature, we have not provided change sheets for these edits, but we've discussed that with County Council, and as long as we describe them here this evening, it's fine for us to proceed forward to the board with the actual edited language. So the first one is corrections to Table 3.1. Currently, the table in your packet indicates that a use permit to the zoning administrator is required for all new WCFs, when in fact those that are located in Group 1, which are typically your residential zone districts, actually require approval from the Planning Commission rather than the zoning administrator. We'll be inserting some additional FCC code section references where appropriate. We'll also be clarifying in the finding section of Chapter 6, there is a finding that discusses adjacent to non-residential use, and we want to clarify a little in more detail what we really mean by that. So in other words, when there is a wireless facility on a parcel that adjoins another parcel with a non-residential use. So we wanted to clarify what we mean by adjacent. We also want to clarify that small cells that do not meet the standards of Table 3.6.3 will be subject to the regular WCF standards. In other words, deviations to those requirements wouldn't be consistent with the FCC regulations on how they define small cell facilities, and therefore we will be treating them as the more standard wireless communication facilities. And then lastly, we did not address the potential for new small cells on new poles or structures. We assumed that in the majority of the cases, these will actually be attached to existing light poles or power poles, but there is the potential, and it is allowed through the FCC regulations, that someone could propose a new pole or tower less than 50 feet in height and be classified as a small cell facility. So we want to provide a mechanism for those to occur. We also have to make sure that the process that we use will coalesce with the shot clock requirements, which are 90 days for a new tower facility. So we'll be proposing that those be allowed with approval of a minor use permit, because those go through a much more streamlined process than our traditional use permit or special development processes.
So that wouldn't fall into one of those three categories. It's a sort of a separate category.
It would be talked about under the small cell sites, but we would add a small section that indicates that when a new tower or antenna that meets the less than 50 feet height criteria, plus all the development standards already listed for small cell, that it could move forward with approval of a minor use permit. And we would look at things such as, are there any available structures within proximity of that site that this could go on to, and if not, perhaps in some of your newer neighborhoods where where the power poles have all been undergrounded or whatnot, there may not be the potential to locate on an existing structure. So it provides that ability if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, staff is recommending that your commission recommend to the Board of Supervisors to adopt the ordinance as provided both in your package as well as edits that I have discussed this evening. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? I just want to thank you. I know this came before us several months ago, and we asked a lot of you, and I think you've come up with a good compromise, and it really meets the federal requirements, but also leaves some discretion at the local level. So thank you for your work on this.
All right. Actually, it all goes to Jessica. I'm kind of pitch hitting for her tonight. We weren't sure if she was going to make it into the office today, so.
Okay, great. No other questions of staff. We'll have some public comment. I'd like to call up Matthew Rugovovich. Sorry, I just butchered your name. Followed by Dante Williams.
Good evening, Matthew Yurgovich. I have been sworn. I'm here on behalf of AT&T. We support the ordinance. We're grateful for staff's efforts and hard work, and we're also grateful for the county taking into consideration the industry comments. So we look forward to a smooth deployment in Sacramento County, and with continuing to work with staff accordingly. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Question? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dante Williams. I have not been sworn in.
Okay, we'll swear you in right now.
Please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this commission is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Dante Williams. I'm here representing Verizon Wireless. I'm the municipal engagement specialist with the small cell strategy team. I'd like to say that Verizon is very happy to work with the commission. We thank the staff for coming up with a policy that's workable. We're excited to be able to deploy best-in-class services, mobile services to the community, and we're glad that we're able to move forward in this manner. So we're also wanting to make sure we always offer ourselves as a resource for any technical information that's required as you move forward in your policy-making decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do not see any other public comments. Okay, great. Any discussion, comments?
I just want to say how much I like the word streamlining. Really, you guys, really well done.
You want to make a motion?
Oh, move to approve staff recommendations as written. Thank you.
I'll second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 4. This item will be dropped. I'll need a motion to drop the item, but it's PLMP 2019-00075, appeal of the planning director's determination related to a proposed project's consistency with an existing Williamson Act contract. Appellant is John Comboy, American River Ag, Inc.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Vote. Great.
Unanimous vote with those members present. I believe we do have someone from the public who wanted to speak.
Yes.
The motion was to drop the item.
Okay. Would Curtis Hagan like to?
No?
Do not believe there's anybody here.
Okay.
Next item.
Planning director's report.
No update on my end. I think on scheduling matters, the next meeting you all know is canceled. We are prepping for the, I believe it's September 23rd meeting, and we do anticipate a couple of items for that meeting. So.
Okay. Great.
On that note, I will be absent from the September 23rd meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No other public comment. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.
When you stand here, the echo, it doesn't bother you?